You wake up tired, even after hours of sleep. You feel a heaviness in your body, a desire to give up on everything, and you can't even explain why. It feels physical, but it's not. Because there's a kind of exhaustion that rest can't fix. It comes from somewhere else. Deepak Chopra warns us, most people who feel exhausted are not physically tired, but emotionally drained. But what does that really mean? Where does this invisible exhaustion come from? And how do you reclaim your vital energy without having to run away from life? In this video, we're going to explore the emotional and spiritual roots of burnout. We'll understand how it settles into the body without us even noticing, and more importantly, how to break free from this silent cycle of chronic exhaustion. But it will only make sense if you stay with it until the end. Because what's draining you isn't what you do, it's what you're carrying. Have you ever felt a tiredness that doesn't go away? The kind of fatigue that shows up even after a good night's sleep, a quiet weekend at home, or even a vacation. It's not physical, it's something deeper, a sense that your energy is slipping away for no clear reason. You try to explain it, but nothing really makes sense. Your body's functioning, but inside, it feels like something slowly emptying out. Deepak Chopra says something simple that can flip a switch. Most people who feel exhausted are not physically tired, but emotionally drained. And that's it. What you're feeling isn't just about what you do, it's about what you feel. Or rather, what you've been feeling and ignoring. The tiredness so many people are carrying. Today isn't about sleeping too little or doing too much. It's about not listening to yourself, waking up on autopilot, solving problems, taking care of everyone, meeting deadlines, being kind, being strong, being efficient, being productive, but never stopping to ask, and me? How am I doing? You stack up your days, one after the other, no pause, no self-check, no honesty. And that gets heavy, really heavy. Because living as if everything is fine when something inside you is asking for help is one of the most exhausting things you can do. Your body feels it. It knows when you say, "I'm fine," and you're not. It knows when you smile on the outside, but feel tight on the inside. It feels the anger, the sadness, the fear you swallow. It notices when you say yes while wanting to say no. It knows when you abandon yourself just to be accepted. And it starts reacting with tension, with shortness of breath, with random fatigue, with unexplained pain, with breakdowns you don't understand. And instead of listening, you blame yourself. You think you're lazy, you think you're weak, you think you've lost focus. So you try harder, push more, do more, be stronger, produce more. But the harder you push, the further you drift from yourself. Because what you're feeling isn't a lack of effort, it's a buildup of silence. That silence is heavy because it's full of everything you're not saying, everything you're feeling and not acknowledging, everything you pretend doesn't affect you, but it does, and it builds up until it becomes this exhaustion no one sees, this emptiness no one understands, this "I don't know what's happening to me." And the truth is, a lot of people are living like this, exhausted, but still standing, smiling, performing, getting things done. But inside, they're on the edge, and maybe you're one of them. And maybe hearing this is bringing you a sense of relief, because you're starting to realize that what you're feeling has a name, it has a reason, and it has a way out. But you can't keep pushing it aside. You can't keep ignoring it. Your body is asking for a pause. Your soul is asking for space. Your emotions are asking to be heard. And this pause isn't about sleeping more or traveling or going to a spa. It's about not running away from yourself anymore. It's about breathing with presence. It's about having the courage to feel what's inside. Maybe right now, as you listen to this, you feel something in your body, a tightness, tension in your shoulders, a lump in your throat, maybe even the urge to cry, without knowing why, and that matters, because it's your body saying, finally someone's listening. If this is how you're feeling, just breathe. That's it. breathe. Don't try to understand, just feel. You don't have to fix everything right now. You don't have to get better right away. You just need to make space. Emotional exhaustion is a sign not of weakness, but of too much pressure, too many expectations, too much self-abandonment, and no one can carry that for long without paying a price. The good news is, you can change. And it all begins when you stop pretending you're okay and start listening to what's asking to come out. If you want, leave a comment below. What's been draining you the most lately? Sometimes just putting it into words brings a bit of relief, and it might help someone else who's going through the same thing, and you don't need to make big changes right away. But maybe, just for today, you can let yourself feel. You can say, I'm tired, and that's okay. You can take a few minutes, close your eyes, breathe, and ask yourself, what do I really need right now? Sometimes what you need most is to come back home to yourself. There's something almost no one talks about. Most people are exhausted not because they do too much, but because they abandon themselves all the time. And this self-abandonment is subtle. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. It's when you feel something's wrong, but keep acting like everything's fine. It's when you're at your limit, but pretend you can take just a little more. When you need silence, but force yourself to smile. When you want to say no, but say, sure, no problem. And then you slowly start to fade without even noticing. Because this kind of exhaustion doesn't scream. It builds up in the body, the mind, the heart. And one day you realize you don't even have energy for the simplest things, and you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? But the problem was never you. It's how you learned to treat yourself. We grow up being told to be strong, to handle it all, to be useful, and those things are good, up to a point. But when being strong means never listening to yourself, when handling it means never resting, when being useful means forgetting who you are, something is deeply wrong. Deepak Chopra puts it clearly, emotional burnout is the price we pay for repeatedly abandoning ourselves. And the hardest part is, we do this thinking we're doing the right thing, thinking we're being responsible, dedicated, reliable, but inside, the body is screaming, what about me? When will someone take care of me? But the world doesn't teach us how to care for ourselves. It teaches us how to care for others, how to deliver results, how to meet expectations. So, when someone says, take time for yourself, you might not even know what that means, because you never learned how, and you don't know where to begin. Maybe you're at that point now, tired of being strong, tired of holding everything in, tired of holding it all together, and at the same time, afraid to stop. Because stopping feels dangerous, like you might lose everything, like you'll disappoint someone, like you'll fail. But that's fear talking, and that fear is fed by years of pressure, comparison, and silence. What you need to understand is that stopping is not weakness. Stopping is wisdom. Stopping is an act of courage in a world that constantly pushes you to keep going. It's a gesture of care, of listening, of reconnection. And it doesn't have to be drastic. You don't have to quit everything. You just need to pause within. Take an inner break. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What's hurting me that I keep ignoring? Because yes, what's wearing you out the most might not be what you're doing, but how much you're ignoring what you're feeling. And that's a form of violence we commit against ourselves every single day, and it shows up everywhere. In your tense body, your overwhelmed mind, your heavy heart, in racing thoughts, sleepless nights, emotional eating, relationships that feel like pressure instead of connection, because when you're emotionally drained, everything feels heavy, even the things that once felt light. That's when the cycle starts. You're tired, but keep going. And the more you push, the more exhausted you become. And the more exhausted you are, the less you listen to yourself. And the less you listen, the more you lose touch with who you are until you abandon yourself completely, and the cycle starts all over again. The only way out isn't through force or pressure, it's through presence, through gentleness, through listening, through small acts of self-care, through real pauses, through silence, through truth. Maybe you're realizing now that your body has already given you many signs, but you didn't want to see them. Maybe you thought it was nothing. Maybe you didn't want to seem weak. Maybe you were scared to stop. But those signs aren't enemies. They're requests from your soul, asking you to come back to yourself. And coming back can start with small things. 1 minute of conscious breathing, saying no calmly, choosing to go to bed earlier, taking a walk without your phone, a shower in silence, turning your phone off for a few hours, having an honest conversation with yourself. These little gestures have a big impact. They pull you out of autopilot. They remind you that you matter, that your energy is not infinite, that your soul has its own pace. And when you start honoring that pace, something inside begins to shift. Your energy starts flowing again. Your mind slows down. Your body thanks you. And the most beautiful part is, when you truly take care of yourself, everything around you begins to change. People notice, relationships improve, choices become clearer. You start saying yes, less out of fear and more out of desire. You feel less guilty for resting. Life begins to feel lighter. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Some days you'll listen to yourself, other days you'll forget. But the difference is, now you know. Now you feel, now you're aware. And that awareness is already halfway there. Just breathe. That's the most important thing right now. Breathe, feel, and remember, you don't have to handle everything. You have the right to stop, to change, to ask for help, to rest. And if you feel like it, share in the comments. What's one small thing you can do today to take care of yourself? Just one. Something simple, something doable, something real. And maybe, just maybe, that's already enough to start changing everything. There's a question most people never ask themselves, but it could change the entire direction of your life. How many things are you doing every day just to meet other people's expectations? How many decisions do you make? How many smiles do you force? How many words do you swallow? How many commitments do you accept? Not because you want to, but because you feel you have to maintain an image. That's one of the biggest thieves of our energy, the effort of seeming happy, seeming capable, seeming confident, seeming put together. And when you spend your life trying to be what others expect, you slowly disconnect from who you really are. You drift away from your own feelings, and that disconnection turns into exhaustion. Deepak Chopra puts it powerfully. When you're full of other people's demands, there's no room left for your own truth. And that's exactly it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you force a smile when all you want is silence, every time you hold back tears just to keep up appearances, you're draining your vital energy. You're betraying yourself. And self-betrayal comes with a very high cost. That's why so many people live with a constant sense of fatigue and emptiness, even when everything looks fine on the outside. A good job, a stable family, a well-structured routine, but on the inside they don't feel seen, they don't feel alive. They feel like they're playing a role that no longer makes sense. And it hurts, because there's an internal conflict happening all the time. One part of you wants to keep everything as it is. After all, it's safe, it's predictable, it's accepted. But another part is screaming for change, a deeper part that can't keep pretending anymore, a part that just wants to breathe in peace without having to prove anything to anyone. That inner conflict between the image you maintain and the essence you hide is what drains you the most. Because it requires constant effort. You're always monitoring yourself, always managing impressions, always trying to fit in. And living like that is like running a marathon every day, but on the inside. And the cruelest part is, most of the time, we don't even realize it. We think we're being responsible. We think we're doing what needs to be done. But deep down, we're losing ourselves. We're silencing what we feel. We're giving up who we are just to keep other people's approval. And then the body speaks. It speaks through pain, fatigue, insomnia, and nameless sadness. Because the body feels it when the soul is imprisoned. And you start living on autopilot. You start saying, "I'm fine," even when you're not. You start getting used to the heaviness until one day you can't take it anymore. The way back begins with one simple but profound decision: to stop trying to be what others expect and start listening to what you really feel. And that listening doesn't have to be dramatic. It can start right now with a question: what am I doing just to please others? And then, what do I actually want to do for me? That's where change begins. Because when you start putting yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect, your energy returns. When you say no truthfully, something within aligns. When you honor your own timing, your body heals. When you allow yourself to rest without guilt, your mind finds space. And yes, it might be hard at first, because the world taught you the opposite. It taught you to seek approval, to be useful, to please. But you weren't born to please anyone. You were born to live your truth, and your truth is not up for negotiation. Maybe this will create conflict. Maybe some people will distance themselves. Maybe you'll have to stand your ground. But what comes next is freedom, lightness, a kind of peace that doesn't rely on anyone's approval, because it comes from within. And when you start living this way, everything changes. You feel more whole, more authentic, more connected. Your relationships become more honest. Your body relaxes, your mind slows down, your soul expands, and it doesn't have to happen all at once. Start small. Choose one moment in your day when you usually stay silent, and speak. One moment where you always say yes and try saying no. Choose one moment to listen to your body, to breathe, to feel. These small daily gestures will bring you back to yourself. They will reconnect you with your vital energy, because you'll stop trying to become something you're not and start living from who you truly are. If you feel like you're constantly acting, constantly draining yourself, trying to keep it all together, leave a comment. What do you feel is pulling you away from yourself the most right now? Just putting it into words might be your first step toward change, and it could help others too. Remember, the exhaustion you feel is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you've been strong for too long. It's your body saying, "Enough. Now it's time to take care of me." Listen to that. Your energy begins to return the moment you begin to respect yourself, to hold space for yourself, to let go of the pressure to seem strong, right, perfect. Because you don't need that. What your soul needs is truth, is space, is you with you. If you've made it this far, it's because you felt it. You felt that the exhaustion you carry every day isn't just physical. You felt that sleeping more, working less, or distracting yourself hasn't really helped. Because the real exhaustion comes from inside, from the silent pressure you put on yourself, from the effort to be who others expect, without ever stopping to ask what you truly need. The truth is, most people aren't tired of what they do. They're tired of how much they demand of themselves, tired of not listening to their own needs, tired of abandoning themselves just to maintain an image. Deepak Chopra says, you feel empty because you're full of other people's demands. But what if what's really draining you isn't them? It's how much you've forgotten yourself. And that's why now, without any more delay, I want to give you the practice I promised. A simple, powerful tool you can use right now. You don't need absolute silence. You don't need extra time. You don't need any rituals. You just need your presence. It's called pause and feel. And here's why it might be a turning point in your day-to-day life. Pick a moment, any moment, when you can pause for 1 minute, just one. And in that minute, turn off whatever you can. Close your eyes. take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Then in silence ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Don't try to give a pretty answer. Don't try to change what comes up. Just feel. If sadness shows up, sit with it for a few seconds. If emptiness appears, observe it. If anger comes, welcome it. If nothing comes, that's okay too. The most important thing isn't what you feel, it's the fact that for the first time today, you're listening to yourself without judgment. After that minute, you can open your eyes, go back to your day. But you'll notice something has shifted. You return to the world a little more whole, a little lighter, because you gave yourself something almost no one gives: attention. If you do this every day, even if it's just for a minute, you'll start to feel a difference. Your body will begin to calm, your mind will slow down, and most importantly, your soul will stop screaming, because it will finally feel heard by you. This practice is so simple that the mind doubts it, but the body thanks you, because the body doesn't need big solutions. It needs space, pauses, permission to exist with all that it feels. And you can do that right now. If you want, pause this video for a moment. Close your eyes, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? If something important comes up, write it in the comments. It can be a single word, a feeling, a memory, whatever comes. Sometimes just letting it out is already a relief. And it might be exactly the nudge someone else needs to do the same. If this video helped you, brought you clarity, or simply kept you company, hit subscribe. This is a space where we talk about what really matters. No magic formulas, no pressure, just truth. Here we breathe together, think together, feel together, and if you can, leave a like. It helps this message reach others who are also tired on the inside and who might be waiting for a video like this to realize they're not alone. To close, I want to remind you of something important. What you feel is valid, even when it seems small, even when no one else sees it. What you feel matters. And taking care of that is taking care of you. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to handle everything. You don't have to look okay when you're not. You just need to be honest with yourself. 1 minute a day can be the beginning. 1 minute of listening, of pausing, of being present, that alone starts to change everything. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Until then.